You are listening to Codovision, where you feel the TV power through audio. I am Mark Codo, aka Codoman, your Codovision host. For this episode, I'm going to take a break from talking about TV show episodes, and this time around, I'm going to talk about a streaming service. That's right, we're going to change things up a bit, and the streaming service that I'm going to talk about is one of the most popular streaming service, Netflix. Netflix is an American subscription video on demand internet streaming service, and the service itself primarily distributes original and acquired films and television shows from various genres. The streaming service itself launched on January 16th of 2007, nearly a decade after Netflix Incorporated began its pioneering DVD by mail movie rental service. Netflix is the most subscribed video on demand streaming media services with over 269.6 million paid memberships in more than 190 countries as of April 2024. By 2022, Netflix original productions accounted for half of its library in the United States, and the namesake company have ventured into other categories as well, such as video game publishing of mobile games via its flagship service. And of course, as of October 2023, Netflix is the 24th most visited website in the world, with 23.66% of its traffic coming from the United States, followed by the United Kingdom at 5.84% and Brazil at 5.64%. Now that is amazing right there. Netflix has become one of the most well-known streaming services and has a lot of popular TV shows, whether it's from cable television or Netflix productions. A lot of those TV shows from Netflix productions and cable TV have been put onto Netflix, and I will name a few examples down the line. But for this episode, I will be talking about why is Netflix so popular. Now, just to give you my background on Netflix, like I've heard of Netflix before, back in like the 2010s. Although it wasn't until like the late 2010s, going into the 2020s, that's when I started to go on. When I started to go on to Netflix, because in the age of technology, streaming services has become very popular. And while there is still cable TV, like streaming services has gotten a lot more attention nowadays. Most notably Netflix. Sure, yes, following in the footsteps of Netflix, you also have Disney Plus, Peacock, Hulu, HBO Max, and of course Paramount Plus, just to name a few. But as for Netflix, Netflix has become one of the most successful streaming services out there. And there are 7 key factors behind the success of Netflix. And I'm looking at an article from the Media Lab. Shout out to the Media Lab. And the Media Lab listed 7 key factors behind the success story of Netflix. Now, to quote this article, Netflix has already changed the way as to how and what we watch throughout the day and night. This platform has successfully disrupted the conventional cable TV aspect and has brought great technological innovations such as digital streaming and machine learning. Netflix has been in the market for 20 years as of now, and they keep adding on innovative prospects day by day. This makes the audience stick to this huge entertainment platform. The only reason customers are attaching with this platform is Netflix knows how to cater their customers. Netflix knows how to cater their customers' needs by giving them a remarkable experience. This is the real success story of Netflix. And that being said, that is absolutely true. That's true because when you really think about it, like Netflix has not only just TV shows but movies as well. There's a lot of TV shows and movies, even specials, that are being put up on Netflix. Now, like I said, there's other streaming services that do it too, like Disney Plus, HBO Max, even Paramount Plus. But Netflix, like I said, Netflix is that streaming service that knows how to cater their customers' needs by giving them a remarkable experience. And experiencing Netflix is a huge thing, especially when it comes to streaming service and, of course, binge watching TV shows on Netflix. Now, here are the 7 key factors behind the success story of Netflix. And this is from the article The Media Lab. Now, point number 1 is creating disruption through technology. Netflix is making moves throughout the years to expand its audience base at a continual pace. At first, Netflix was just shipping DVDs through the mail, and later they eliminated late fees that greatly lead to Blockbuster's crush. With the passage of time, they moved up from mailing the content to streaming movies and TV shows in good quality. Continuing the growth prospect, Netflix has already begun its production of own unique content. This original content is being liked by masses and marked as hit shows throughout the scale. Now, the first point is true. Netflix started off by basically mailing DVDs, kind of like how this is like Netflix and now this is obviously true. Netflix and of course Blockbuster were basically competing each other of like who gets to of like who's gonna rent what, and that's such. Like Blockbuster has been around was a has been around for a while, but of course with the success of Netflix, Blockbuster shut down, and now Netflix has become one of the more popular ways to watch TV shows and movies. Now, at the time, Netflix was basically doing DVD rentals, kind of like how Blockbuster was doing it at the time, but unfortunately, Blockbuster, in an attempt to wipe out $1 billion of debt, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy and the company was delisted. And of course, the following year, Dish Network bought the company out of bankruptcy for $320 million in hopes of keeping 600 stores open. However, Dish Network announced in 2013 that it would close the remaining Blockbuster stores. And apparently in the 2010s, Blockbuster fell into bankruptcy, and then of course the Dish Network announced in 2013 that it would close the remaining Blockbuster stores. So yeah, that was a true thing. It really created a disruption through technology. Most notably, created disruption through blockbusters. Even Redbox is still, and of course, there's another DVD rental, Redbox, and I believe that is still a thing to this day. Like Redbox is still around, so I haven't heard anything about Redbox lately. All I know is that it's still around, but Blockbuster, not as much. I mean, which is sad too, because I know Blockbuster at the time was one of the more popular DVD rental places, long before Netflix came in. So yeah, but yeah, you could definitely tell how popular Netflix became because of how it created a disruption through technology. But anyway, moving forward, point number two, flexibility. The biggest advantage Netflix is giving to its customers that they can watch any content with convenience. And they can watch content on demand and on any screen they want. And of course, Netflix is making sure to give experiences with personalized tastes. Now, yep, that is true. You get a good sense of flexibility right there because when you really think about when you watch something from Netflix, whether it's like a TV show, like you kind of get that, you really get that flexibility. Like you get to pause the show, take a break, come back to it. But like that's like that bit of a flexibility. Like you watch this show, but at the same time you take a little break from it, and you take a little break from it, get let's say like a 15-minute break, go back to it, and then just resume it. So there's that bit of a flexibility right in there too. So like you could definitely use that flexibility given time to like watch Netflix. So there's that flexibility right there. And of course, point number three, variety of options. Like subscribers of Netflix are given options to have a huge range of movies, TV series, and documentaries by distribution partners, and this opens new options on a regular basis, attracting millions of customers. Now that is also true. Now going to the TV side of things, there are a lot of TV shows from cable and of course Netflix originals as well that are basically popular. And to go off topic, there's a lot of TV shows, right? There's a lot of TV shows, right? For Netflix. Like you have a lot of shows, whether it's basically from cable TV or just Netflix originals. But there are a lot of shows that are streamed on Netflix. Here's a couple examples for you. You got Band of Brothers, which came out in 2001, and Band of Brothers was one of the best limited TV series of all time. It became a huge achievement, something that really doesn't get attention it deserves for shifting the TV landscape. Of course, this landmark in the medium was created by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, adapted from the World War II history book of the same name by Stephen A. Ambrose, and is quite simply one of the best things that ever aired on TV. And of course, It paid tribute to the brave men who fought in World War II in this deeply personal, moving blend of history and filmmaking. And of course, with the popular success of Band of Brothers, it also created another show similar to Band of Brothers called Masters of the Air, to which Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg also produced, which came out in January 2024. Although that show, Masters of the Air, went to Apple TV. But yeah, Band of Brothers is one of those examples. A couple of other examples: Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Those were those were those two shows. Those two shows were created by Vince Gilligan, and they were first aired on the cable channel AMC. Although Breaking Bad came out first, which came out in 2008, then Better Call Saul came into the fold in 2015 on AMC as well. And of course, both of these shows are dramas, by the way, and they're both on Netflix, and those are popular TV shows as well. Now, how about something for Netflix, right? Like, there are Netflix originals too. Like, here's one: The Queen's Gambit. The Queen's Gambit came out in 2020, and it became one of the best miniseries of the current decade. And The Queen's Gambit was there for people during the first year of, obviously, the pandemic, turning chess into a new kind of dramatic phenomenon. And it's based on the book of the same name by Walter Tevis, and it stars Anya Taylor-Joy as Beth Harmon, a chess prodigy who rises in the male dominated world while also battling her own addictions. And of course, Anya Taylor Joy became one of the main highlights of the show, but it's the sharp writing that makes it a TV checkmate. Get it? Checkmate? Chess? Although Queen's Gambit I have not seen, although I may check it out one of these days I may check it out, but I heard some good things about this show. Now, of course, there's another show that came out on Netflix, which is also a Netflix original. You also have Squid Game, which is another great Netflix show, which is also a Netflix original. And then on top of that, a couple of other shows. And then on top of that, you also have Walking Dead from AMC, which is now on Netflix. And then, of course, BoJack Horseman, and also Stranger Things and Cobra Kai, just to name a few. So Netflix has a huge variety of TV shows on there, and having that variety of options is amazing. Like some of the best TV shows that you watched on cable are now on Netflix, and of course, some of the best TV shows from Netflix are basically Netflix originals. And also another example, Wednesday Addams is also another popular Netflix show as well. So you got some not only examples but also a good variety of shows to watch on Netflix. Now, of course, we go to the next point. Point number 4 is strategy of original content. As per the source of Variety, Netflix is planned to spend around $15 billion on the content in 2019, under which 85% of new spending is reserved for original content, and of course this shows the amount of over $12 billion. It is obvious that this investment is more than any other of its competitors like Amazon, Hulu, or HBO now. This is the reason that Netflix is topping in customer satisfaction surveys, because because Netflix has a strategy of original content, and they're making a lot of money off of this. Like billions of dollars. Netflix is making billions of dollars from the streaming service. And that is amazing. Going back to what I said about these shows, like Band of Brothers, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, those shows from the cable services, and of course Netflix originals like Cobra Kai, Squid Game, or even Wednesday Addams. Like those few examples are original content for Netflix original production or Netflix original shows. Like you get this type of content, and Netflix comes up with this strategy. Like that Netflix is not only spending billions of dollars but also making billions of dollars as well. So that's pretty amazing, because we have these types of popular shows. That Netflix is not only spending money but making money as well. because with many of these shows and movies, but for this episode I'm talking about TV shows, like but for many of these but for many movies and TV shows on Netflix, like it attracts a lot of people's attention. It attracts a lot of people's attentions, and I believe that's why it became so popular because because Netflix attracted a lot of attention from people who binge watch Netflix. I mean, even other shows too. Like you also have because you also have other shows too that draws people's attentions, like House of Cards, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, even The Crown. Even The Crown itself also had Bridgerton and Money Heist. Even Netflix movies like Roma, The Irishman, and All Quiet on the Western Front. But anyway, moving forward to the fifth point. Now moving forward to the fifth point, ad-free content. Now, obviously enough, this one's obvious because when you're watching a popular show or movie on TV, it gets interrupted by a lot of commercial ads. You know right away it does get a little annoying. I mean, obviously enough, commercial advertisements do show. I mean, you know what commercials do, but when it comes to like streaming services, you do realize that you don't want to see ads when it comes to like watching something popular on a streaming service. And Netflix being an ad-free content is obviously one of the main things why Netflix is so popular. And of course, Netflix became the reason ad blocking software is getting more popular than ever. And this is what Netflix understands and offers ad free content. And this prevents users from annoying and irrelevant ads, making sure to get ad free experiences to all its customers, which means they don't want to see ads being played interrupting the show on a streaming service. Granted, now of course, when it comes to like like TV channels, they do that all. I mean, TV channel. I mean, of course, TV channels on cable TV, and I'm pretty sure Hulu does it, and obviously Hulu does it too. They show TV commercials all the time. I mean, of course, they'll interrupt they'll interrupt a TV show or a film that is being played on TV. I mean, of course, that's always going to happen, especially on a channel because obviously enough when people watch commercials, commercials are definitely going to make a lot of money, especially when what commercials are trying to promote and show, if you know what I'm saying, right? But of course, obviously enough, with streaming service like Netflix, they provide ad free content. So that's obviously a good thing. Not having your show being interrupted by a commercial. So that's point number five. Now point number six is enhanced user experience. Now, Netflix does a lot of research to come up with the best user experience. Although I think the real question, although if this might be a good question. This actually might be a good question. I wonder what people's experience with Netflix is like. What's the experience with Netflix is like? That is a good question. Now, to anybody who is listening to this episode, I want to ask you this: what's your experience with Netflix is like? And if you want to share your experience about Netflix, comment below if you are listening to this through Spotify for podcasters, or on YouTube. Comment below your experience with Netflix. What's your experience like? I believe that is a good question to ask. Now, how about my experience? What is my experience with Netflix is like? Now with my experience with Netflix, I just basically go on to Netflix, look for a certain movie or TV show that I think is interested, that I believe is interested, and just watch it. And then of course pause it for, and of course keep on watching it, pause it for a bit, come back to it, and then of course keep watching it. Or even at one point, binge watch a popular TV show. That's basically my experience. Although I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna have different experiences with Netflix. But of course, the foremost aspect is its customer created preview videos. This preview plays on scrolling through a title card. It also allows download to go feature, enabling users to watch shows offline. And that's basically it for that point. Now, the final point, point number seven, is personalized experience through Netflix recommendation engine. Now, Netflix knows what a lot of people would watch on the platform. every day, then I'm pretty sure Netflix would throw in a recommendation for that show or movie. Now Netflix knows what we watch and how many episodes we watched of certain programs, and that is how their machine learning works. And then if and then with that being said, Netflix has become efficient while using that machine learning in order to help their algorithms learn. And that machine learning enables the platform to automate millions of decisions as per the user activities. And without that recommendation engine, people would spend great time searching for their desired movies and TV shows. And of course, this is why the Netflix recommendation engine is crucial to the success of this platform. And that is the final point right there. And I find that to be true because when you watch, like, let's say you watch an episode of Cobra Kai, or even Stranger Things, or Wednesday Addams, or even The Crown, or House of Cards, like you watch an episode from each of those shows, and you click off on Netflix, right? But then you go back to Netflix, you go back into your user to watch the show again. But here's what it does. Here's the kicker. This is where the recommendation engine kicks in, and it shows you the show that and it shows you the other shows, but it gives you a recommendation tab of the shows that you left off. So it'll show you like, oh, you were watching Cobra Kai. You left off on this episode. You click on it, and then you click the play button to watch that to continue watching that episode, or even moving forward to another episode. Because other times, like once you're done with that episode, you leave Netflix for a while. You go back to it, click on your user, and you just click on the show and it will take you to the next episode, right? Yeah, and that's totally true. And that's totally true. I like how Netflix gives you like a recommendation of the shows that you're watching, whether it's like whether it's basically continuing the episode, or even watching a brand new episode, if you know what I'm saying, right? Same could be said with movies too. There's a lot they do that with movies as well, and I like that. So in conclusion to that, with all the great and overwhelming features, Netflix has become one of the more has become a successful. Uh, Netflix is marked as successful as it prioritizes subscribers' needs, and of course, the regular transformation is bringing innovations and creating ease for all of its subscribers. The success story of Netflix is their business strategy to make customers glued to this platform, and that's the main thing for a streaming service like Netflix. It is gluing people to this platform to watch the content, to binge watch this content, like a TV show or a movie. Like I can't tell you how many times I can't tell you how many times I've been glued to Netflix. Like the only reasons why I've been glued to Netflix is because of, well, here's a couple things. Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai, Stranger Things. Like those are my two go tos when streaming Netflix. Because here's the thing, Cobra Kai has become one of the most popular Netflix shows. But at the time, it wasn't even a Netflix show. The first two seasons were on YouTube Premium, but unfortunately, YouTube decided not to continue with the show. So basically, this is where Netflix came into the fold, picked up the show, and continued the series with three more seasons, with season six on the way. Like just recently, Netflix dropped the trailer for Cobra Kai season six, and of course Cobra Kai season six is divided into three parts, with part three ending some with part three being slated to drop on Netflix sometime in 2025. So there's your sign right there. And even with Netflix, the Cobra Kai TV show became one of the most popular TV shows for Netflix. Netflix really saved this show because I can't imagine this show being canceled. If Netflix didn't pick up the show, Cobra Kai would have ended on a brutal note, because at the end of Cobra Kai season 2, Miguel Diaz suffered a back injury and went into a coma, and that was during the episode had that huge high school brawl, which ended brutally for Miguel Diaz, ending up in a coma because he fell like 2 floors and landed on his back on a stairway handle, and that is brutal. He would have died from that fall, and I'm glad that Miguel Diaz was still alive in season 3, but I can't imagine how bad it would have been if Cobra Kai was canceled like that after 2 seasons, leaving Miguel in a coma like that. That's not a good note. That is a low note to go off on. Like, I can't imagine that. And I'm so glad Netflix picked it up and continued the series. So I give Netflix props for this. And then of course Stranger Things as well. I even binge watched Stranger Things at one point because Stranger Things has become one of the most popular shows for Netflix as well. Stranger Things became one of Netflix's flagship series and has attracted a record number of attracted a record number of viewers on the streaming platform because of how good the show is. Because the show for Stranger Things, it was praised for its characterization, atmosphere, acting, soundtrack, directing, writing, and tributes to the films of the 1980s. And of course, according to Symphony Technology Group, within the first 35 days of the release for Stranger Things, the average ratings came out to around 14.07 million adults between the ages of 18 and 49 in the United States, which made it the third most watched season of Netflix original content in the US at the time, behind the first season of Fuller House. Now, this was obviously for the first season of Stranger Things, mind you. But of course, in September of 2016, Netflix found that Stranger Things hooked viewers by the second episode of the first season, indicating that the second episode was the first installment that led at least 70% of viewers who watched the episode to complete the entire first season of a show. And then when season 3 came out, Netflix revealed that the show had broken viewing records for Netflix, with 40.7 million household views having watched the show in its first 4 days, and 18.2 million already watched the entire series within that time frame. And within its first month, the third season was watched by 64 million households, setting a new record for the most watched original Netflix series. And then, of course, the series is the most followed TV show on social media app TV's time history with over 5 million followers. That's how popular Stranger Things is. Like, that's how popular that show is. Like, it's one of the most popular shows on Netflix, and of course, being the flagship series. Now, those are just a couple examples of, from my point of view, of how Netflix became one of the most popular streaming services, because it shows you some of the most popular TV shows. Like Stranger Things and Cobra Kai, for example, are popular from my point of view. Now, obviously enough, there are also other shows. There are also other shows, whether it's Netflix originals or even cable TV shows being put on Netflix as well, that are becoming more and more popular. If you know what I'm saying. Like Queen's Gambit, for example, is one of them. And that show came out in October 2020, and it became one of the most watched show on Netflix in the United States. And on November 23rd, 2020, Netflix announced that the series had been watched by 62 million households since its release, becoming Netflix's biggest scripted limited series to date. And of course, the series topped the Nielsen's US streaming rankings for the weeks of October 26th to November 1st, November 2nd to November 8th, and November 9th to November 5th of 2020, and November 9th to November 15th of 2020, making it the series to do so for 3 weeks straight. There are other shows that I'm very positive that do it too. Even to this day, Netflix is still one of the most popular streaming services out there, and it will continue to be popular to this day. And yes, there are other streaming services out there like Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO Max, Paramount, and other streaming services. But as for Netflix is still out there and has become one of the most popular streaming platforms out there. And that is basically it. That is basically my take on what makes Netflix popular. But to anybody who is listening out there, if I'm missing out on anything from Netflix, please let me know in the comment section. But what did you guys think of Netflix? Like, is there anything more to Netflix that makes it popular? Do you agree with what I'm talking about on why Netflix makes it popular? Do you disagree with it? Do you have different opinions on what makes Netflix popular? Was there anything that I'm missing on what makes Netflix popular? I would love to hear your thoughts. But other than that, that is a wrap on this episode. Thank you all for tuning into Codovision. I'm Mark Codo, aka Codoman, your Codovision host. Stay positive and keep on streaming.